Hey everybody, this is Eric Stark with Radio Arizona RV. Today's episode is number 52, and we're going to be talking about solar. And the guest on the show today is going to be Mark Spillsbury from Go Power Solar. Go Power is they are the largest solar manufacturer for the RV industry. They've been around the longest. They have the most experience. And even today, RVs, 1 out of 3 RVs are coming pre-wired for Go Power Solar. So that says a lot about the company and the kind of products they deliver. So before we get into the interview, I just want to remind everybody to check out our website, sunpromfg.com, and look at our new slide-out awning fabric with the 10-year warranty. You can't beat that. 10 years warranty on a slide-out awning fabric, and they're not priced through the roof. They're still very affordable, so you got to check that out. It's called the Ultra 10-year slide-out awning fabric. So at sunpromfg.com. Then we're also, just so you know, we're doing a facelift on Arizona RV Parts Center website. So that'll have a new look in the next week or so, or maybe even by the time this episode comes out, but we're working on that in the background. So now let's get into the interview with Mark Spillsbury from Go Power Solar. So as I said, today, Mark Spillsbury from Go Power's on the show, and we're going to be talking about solar. And Mark has over 20 years experience in the solar field. He has 19 years with Go Power. Go Power has been in business for about 23 years. So we have a lot of history here and a lot of expertise on solar. So we're going to go through some different questions with Mark. And by the way, Mark is an RV'er. He rents RVs, he borrows RVs, he doesn't own one at present, but he does use them, so he's familiar with the systems and how the solar works and ways to tweak it to make it better, to change things. He understands the confined space, generators, the need for all these different things in RV. So he has a complete understanding of this, which is really nice, and especially for being at one company for 19 years. So he has experience with their products, from all different sides. So it's very nice. And so welcome to the show, Mark. Glad to have you today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem. It's our pleasure, and to have an expert. Solar is one of the things that, people call me coming into the store quite a bit, and they ask about it, and it's kind of like a black hole in a sense, I guess, when the conversation first starts, because there's so many things, because the conversation might start as, can solar run my RV? And
you don't say. I've heard that a few times.
Right. The basic answer is no, right?
It is.
Okay. So solar can't run an RV, but go ahead.
Well, sure. So people come and ask, like, what can solar run, or can it run my RV? Well, solar really can't run anything. It's really just a battery charger whenever it's light out. So it does take a few different components to make that happen. So you always have to have, obviously some solar, but then the right amount of batteries for your system. We look at batteries as like your gas tank. So we got to make sure you have a big enough gas tank for all the solar the gas you want to fill, and then for all the gas you're going to burn. So another part of that question is, people go, well, will it run my air conditioner? It's not as easy to do, but pretty much these days we can run everything else in an RV except for the air conditioner without spending a ton on lithium or batteries, and then a ton of solar to do the job. But everything else can be sized basically on the type of RV you are, and then what you actually want to run. Okay,
perfect. So the short answer is no, but the long answer is yes. Solar can definitely be a benefit, and I like how it won't run an air conditioner, or very limited, and because that's a concern sometimes. So to run a microwave or an air conditioner, those are 110 volt items. So the solar panel's not going to hook up to the batteries and just magically run the air conditioner, right? You're going to have something in the system like an inverter.
You do need an inverter. So that's going to take that battery power and then convert it into AC or shore power to do the job. And then we have to pick a big enough inverter, usually a 1500 watt or larger for most of the kitchen loads, to power what you want to power up.
Okay, so the solar basically is just going to keep that inverter charged or going, because it's going to keep the batteries charged up.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so a lot of people, when you go, like, or like myself, during the day, you park the RV, everything's all set up, but now you're off exploring or going to the beach or doing whatever. And the solar's just sitting there trying to charge your batteries up to 100%. And then when you get back from your outing, that's when you turn things on and fire things, and now you're drawing off your batteries again. That's kind of how it works. And then if you're not plugged into a park, that's where you need that inverter power if you want to run your electronics or your kitchen appliances. And then it's just basically drawing, if you're doing AC appliances, it's drawing more power off your battery. So we usually add more batteries for people that are doing that. And you probably don't need as much if you're just wanting to run your 12-volt loads, like your lights and your fans and that kind of thing.
Okay, perfect. Because there's a lot of misunderstandings with that. Some think that, solar will run everything. You just plug an inverter in and away you go. But talking to you before the show, obviously it's a little more complicated than that. It can be very complicated or somewhat uncomplicated, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. So like if people want to run just their, like we were saying, just their cell phones, and maybe they have some small electronics, like their stereo, that kind of thing, you probably don't need that big of an inverter. You usually pick around about a 700 watt inverter. You can wire that, if you want to, directly into the battery and have maybe dedicated, outlets if you wanted to pretty it up for just that type of usage. But if you want to run you have all your outlets working and run your kitchen appliances like your microwave, like a toaster, coffee pot, that kind of stuff, usually it's about a 1500 to a 2000 watt inverter. But there's two other components, or at least one other component. You need to run it through a transfer switch, so that only allows one source of AC power to come on. And then that's also tied into your converter, which is the opposite of an inverter, which takes AC power and turns it into DC power, so you can charge your battery. Those are all the kind of little components that get wired in. And if we do them all right, they're all hidden away, and all you do is push a button on the wall when you want power, and when you don't, turn it off, and you're good to go.
All right, very good. Okay, so it's definitely doable, and that's what I like, is there's a lot to it. Like you said, it's hidden away too, so there's a lot more to solar than what people really imagine because it's hidden away.
Yeah.
So it can make a little more tricky to do. But the other question people ask me is, will solar replace my generator? I hear that all the time.
Yeah, it sort of depends where you are and how often you need to rely on your generator. So if you're in, say, Texas in the middle of summer and you need your generator so your ACs are on, probably not, because you need that. But if you're, in the Midwest in Arizona or in California, up in the Pacific Northwest, you probably don't need to rely on it as often. And yeah, you can run, you can maybe run the AC for a little while, not on generator, and have your fans and everything else going, and you won't need it. Like I was saying, you really can size it up to run everything now in the RV, except the AC for a long period of time. Those loads, like your refrigerator, if you have a full residential refrigerator, or like an air conditioner, those heating and cooling loads usually are on for a long period of time and draw more power, where all your kitchen loads, like your microwaves and that kind of thing, they're big draws, but they're only on for a short little burst of time. So usually your microwave's only on for 5 minutes a day, maybe a little more tops. Toasters, depends how burnt you like your toast, but just a couple minutes and it's done, and then that's it. So and all your entertainment loads, like your TV and your stereo, are all low power draws, so they can be on for long periods of time. So if your fridge is a three-way propane fridge, I'd leave it on propane because it always seems to draw next to nothing when I use them. They work great. But if they are a full electric fridge, you may need to have a bit more solar and battery to be able to offset that draw. But that's still definitely doable. Okay,
so that type of solar system is not going to be your little basic solar system. You're going to have an inverter in line or in the system. You're going to have multiple panels. You're going to have multiple batteries.
Yeah.
So that's going to be one of your more expensive systems, right?
Yeah. So like if you're going out and you just want to run all the 12-volt loads, and it's the average family of four, say, they usually draw at about 50 to 60 DC amps a day. And our most popular kit we have is called the Overlander. And throughout, I know, like the RV seeing, I say from like, beginning of May to like the end of September, you usually get about 6 hours of usable sunlight throughout that time on average. Obviously more in the summer, the less in the ends, but that'll offset that draw. So if that's all you want to do, that's usually what people go with if they just want, the basics, the lights, the fans, the water pump, all that kind of stuff. But as soon as you start wanting to run AC appliances or use more power, that's where we need to add more solar and then add an inverter and add more batteries to make the system work for you.
Okay, very good. And so they have some really great systems for doing that. The inverters we were talking before the show, very nice stuff. So, Go Power has everything you need to basically power up your RV on solar if you want to. Now, another thing, not only do I get asked about it, but, I hear about it and people come into the store saying, hey, I bought some solar panels and installed them myself, and can you help me fix this problem? It's not working right. So, but for the typical solar installation, let's say without an inverter, is that pretty much something a do-it-yourselfer could do, or would they have to take it to an RV shop?
No, that's definitely something they could do. And there's different types of solar kits and things we could get into. But with like your traditional rigid style solar panel that we offer, like our Overlander kit, that's like that 190 watt panel. Really, it's just mounting the mounting feed to it before you take it up on or install it on the roof. So you have that. Ideally, when I'm telling people to install it, I always suggest putting it on like the awning side of the RV, because in theory, the other side is going to be what's shaded more if the awning's giving you shade. And then just putting it along that side, usually want to try to hit at least the sidewall ribs so that you can anchor it in. But most roofs, depending on what type of roofing material we're talking about, usually you can screw right into the roof and you're going to be fine. If you got, like an Airstream or some kind of like teardrop shaped roof configuration, it might be a little bit trickier, but it's still definitely doable. I know we had talked about it prior, but like one of the things we're doing in the background was working a lot with the RV OEMs to pre-wire RVs. So right now we've got about 1 in 3 RVs that are manufactured have some kind of Go Power pre-wire for solar on them. Because usually for me and for the dealers, when you're getting it installed, say at a dealership, the most time consuming part of it is running all the wiring through the walls after the fact. So if we can get the RV manufacturers to pre-wire it, that speeds up the install immensely. So you can put the panel up on the roof. There's quick connections right there for you. Then on the inside of the RV, there's a location. We have a solar controller decal that's marking the location of where the wire is. It's already got a little dotted line to make you cut to find the wire, if that's on there still, if it's new. And then that's where your wire is for the controller. And then down at the battery, the wiring is already going to be labeled. It's going to be there. Hook it up to your battery and you're good to go.
Okay, perfect. So 1 in 3 RVs are coming pre-wired with Go Power, so that makes it really easy. And if you're buying a new RV, I just have to say this, if you're buying it's already pre-wired, just have the dealership do it all and throw it in on the financing. It'd be really cheap that way.
Well, actually, and for people out there, not everybody may know, there's actually a 30% federal rebate you can get back when you do your taxes if you're using your RV as a secondary home. So that can include solar, inverter, batteries, labor, all that. And you can get 30% of the cost back of the system at the end of the year.
Yeah, I did see that on your website, gpelectric.com. I noticed that yesterday. So that's a nice incentive for those that are full-timers. Definitely save some money there, And a lot of full-timers buy new RVs, so throw it in on the financing.
Why not? That's right.
So the do-it-yourselfer, really not that big of a deal to do. They're probably more scared about or worried about, drilling holes in the roof or putting holes in the roof. But most roofs are sheeted with plywood, so that's not really an issue. Correct?
Yeah, it's just, if you look up, like a lot of people that are new to RVing don't realize how many holes are already in their brand new rubber roof they have.
Right.
But there's lots, and then you don't have to be sparing with the the sealant that you use. So we recommend either the main two that are out there to make sure your mounting feet are covered quite well.
Right.
And it's in our instructions to do that. The other type of panel you can use is a flex panel. Some people like those because they're a lot lighter weight. They're really thin. They're flexible, but you can glue those down to the roof. And then if your RV isn't already pre-wired, where usually people run the wiring through your fridge vent because it's already plumbed to go down inside. And then that usually brings you, this is what can take time, but usually brings you up in and around the refrigerator. There's usually a cavity above it that you can mount the solar controller, and then from there you're running the wires to the battery.
Right. Okay. So that makes it pretty simple, and all RV refrigerators have that vent on the top, so it makes it real easy. Yeah. And they all have the cavity, like you said, so that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, that's why we see it. We see a lot of them are in and around there. And then the other style of pre-wire we have, so that one I'm referring to, we call it our wired for solar. So if you see a wired for solar, decal in there, that's what that is. And then the other one we call is solar on the side, which is where we use just a little round, it's an SAE, it's like a 2-wire prong port for our portable solar kit. So if you want a briefcase style deployable one, that's quick and easy. Everything's included in those kits. Do it all yourself anyway, but if the RV's pre-ordered, they just put it in a nice convenient spot so you can just plug it in and set it up and you're good to go.
Okay, very good. Yeah, so the portable stuff's getting more popular. Obviously, you don't have to drill holes or worry about any additional things on your roof that way. And the portable stuff's just as effective as a built-in, right?
They're the same type of solar panels that you would use on the roof. The difference is with the portables, like you have to obviously set it up, put it out, and then make sure you put it away, that kind of thing. Whereas the rooftop style are always working whenever they can. So it's in your driveway, while you're driving down the road, wherever it's getting sun, it's trying to maintain your batteries all the time. Where the portables, obviously, you have to be out in the sun to do your thing. So up my way, I'm up in Victoria, BC, Canada, but a lot of the park or campsites are heavily treed, so sometimes the rooftop is shaded. So then the systems will work together. So you can put the portable one out in the sun, and then that way you're getting charged back if your RV's shaded.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of a clever idea. So that'll work. So yeah, you see, solar is going to work just about wherever you're at, and then the ease of it and even the installation is not that difficult. Now, installing an inverter makes it a little more tricky, but even that, I've looked at your instructions for a lot of your inverters, and I think they're pretty clear on what you need to do. Someone who's not familiar with electricity might have a few questions, but they're definitely obstacles that can be overcome, correct?
Yeah, for sure. It depends how much time you have to do it. It's
right.
Just, do you want to where there's two different, the smaller inverters, or where they're just a straight inverter and you're going to use your already existing converter charger. That's a little bit more simplistic of a system. If you're looking at the inverter chargers that are out there and the combinations, they're more feature rich, but they're a little bit more, need a little bit more of electrician mind to be able to install those through your breaker panel and do all that. So some of that is, I leave up to an expert if you're not comfortable with it. But the smaller inverters, for sure, are something you can do. Okay,
definitely. That's good. And so then, one of the things I was going to bring up was holes in the roof, but you already brought that out, and you had a good point. There's already holes in the roof. There's holes all over your RV, so 4 or 8 more or 12 more.
Check them every year.
Right. So it's not going to be a deal breaker there. Shouldn't it be anyways?
No, and people ask too, this is something else for solar, can they be out in all the weather, maybe out in the wintertime and be buried in the snow? The solar panels are tested for 1-inch hailstones at 51 miles an hour is the rating. So they're made out of a tempered solar glass. So it's strong enough you can walk on them. I have a guy with us that when we're at RV shows, he takes the panel and chucks it 10 feet up in the air and it crashes down and scares everybody, but it's totally fine. and he's a pretty stocky guy, and he goes and walks on them, and like they're pretty solid. So once they're up there, they're good. Like all it is with solar is just really making sure they're clean and they're in the sun.
Okay, perfect. So now another thing too, there's a lot of brands of solar out there, and everybody has their ideas on what they want or need, but what would make Go Power better than the other brands?
Okay, so Go Power, well, we've kind of been the pioneers in this for a long time. It's like we've been around for 23 years, but we've always been pushing the technology. We keep pushing the size. Well, we're usually the ones to lead the way with the most power output for our panels compared to other brands out there, like our 190 watt. And you can have a larger grid tie panel, it could be, but physically, our panel usually puts out the most power per square foot compared to our competitors. There are some different components. So like you were talking before, like looking at a solar panel, it's almost like buying diamonds unless you know what you're looking at. There's different cell types. So most of the industrial ones that our competitors would use too, there's the two main ones now. One's called polycrystalline, and the other one is monocrystalline. And they're both good panels. The polycrystalline aren't as efficient as the mono. If you look at them, usually they're like a more lighter blue color. They kind of like you can see the cells in them. We kind of equate it to is like the polycrystalline is like a piece of press board, where the monocrystalline is like a piece of solid oak. You may not know that when you look at it at first, but that's kind of what you're looking at. The monocrystallines usually will be more efficient, so more power per the space, but they also perform better in low light and high heat conditions and things like that. So that's the differences on the panels, and in all of our kits we use monocrystalline panels. And then controllers, there's millions of different flavors, like I was talking to you about, but with ours, we've always designed ours, and there's lots of ones that look like ours because we've been doing it for a long time, but they're flush mounts. They don't have any exposed wiring. Ours are UL rated, which no one else is doing in the industry right now. We're pushing that. Like I was telling you, an RV is like I always heard it never always stuck, but it's like a house going through a 6.0 earthquake constantly while it's driving down the road. So you want these things to be solid and not come apart in your wall. Is that, and then everything we do obviously has to be UL approved for the work we do with the OEM on the solar side. And then for us as a Go Power brand, we've always been the ones to incorporate a full power solution category. So we're not just a solar company, we're not just an inverter company. We wanted to provide everything that we could in the entire power system, so you could get that off one company. And all of our stuff works together well, which is nice. And so now we have batteries, we have lithiums, we have inverters, converters, solar, all the little pieces and all the little connectivity harnesses and things that you need as well. And all of the products, like I was telling you, everything gets hidden away in the wall or in the bowels of the RV, except for what you'll see is usually an inverter remote and a solar controller, and that's about it.
Right. Yeah. So, for everybody out there listening, I highly suggest going to gpelectric.com. That's Go Power's website, and peruse it. Mm-hmm. If you're thinking about solar, there's a lot of questions that you're going to get answered there. There's things that are going to be brought up that you've never even thought about. Definitely a resource to look at. It's going to get into all the little details, things that you're not going to hear anywhere else. Even, going to an RV dealership or stores, they're going to leave little things out that maybe they don't know about mm-hmm. or just forgot about. But if you go to the website, you're definitely going to get more information. Now, another thing, Mark, on the warranty, mm-hmm. what's the warranty on the solar panels for Go Power?
Okay, so all the rigid tempered glass panels have a 25-year warranty on the panels, and then the flex panels have a 5-year because they're made out of a plastic Tedlar coating. And then solar controllers are usually 5 years. Inverters are 2 to 3 years. I think I got it. And then batteries are sort of same thing, 2 to 3 years, depending on the type.
Okay, so that's some pretty good warranty, especially on a panel for 25 years.
Yeah.
You're not even getting around with, you're not even going to know where your RV's at in 25 years in most cases. Well, so put it on, forget about it.
I don't like saying it, but a lot of the times maybe they might outlast the RVs they're on. But yeah, they're pretty solid.
They will. You just put it on,
a lot of people take, right? So I've seen RVs that are written off due to crazy hailstorms that go through, and the panels are still fine. So they're pretty tough. All you have to do, you can, with the tempered ones, you can get up there with a pressure washer and blast it all off if you've left it for a while to clean any, dirt or anything off of it. They're pretty reliable. So there's no moving parts. So long as they're kept clean, they should work. There's panels that are almost 60 years old out there. Granted, they're not quite as efficient, but this old technology still works fine.
All right, perfect. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Yeah, that's a long time. Hey, Mark, thanks a lot. Really appreciate you coming on the show today. And so we finished up talking about GoPower's warranty. So that's where we ended today. Now, we have more questions to ask, so it's going to be in episode number 53. Too much ground to cover in one show. So again, thanks, Mark, for coming on, and I want everybody to check out GoPower Electric's website, which is gpelectric.com. A ton of information there that's very helpful if you're going to get into solar, if you're thinking about it. Maybe you've already bought some solar, but you still have some questions. And remember, you can also call them as well. They have a great tech support line, or a lot of experience, so take advantage of it. So I want to encourage everybody to look at radioarizonarv.com as well. We're going to have links to GoPower's website and some information that was discussed in the show today and, of course, in our next episode as well. So again, thank you for listening. This is Eric Stark with Radio Arizona RV.